right, everybody, welcome to BO Boys for Thursday, October 17th. Fuck it, it's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton.
Yeah, I'm Pat. Clayton, it's time to do one of these. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see what I'm doing. Big old smile. Smile 2 comes out this weekend. That's the big wide release. But before we get into Smile, anything else we want to say going into the weekend about the big story from last weekend, Terrifier 3, incredible opening. It continues to roll along. It's up to, I think, 22 million after Monday. I mean, this thing is a phenomenon. What do you hear it in the streets about Art the Clown and his big box office weekend?
I'm, I mean, listen, everybody, like I said before, everybody's acting shocked. You're seeing all the
Hmm.
videos from these so-called experts, and I know shocked, shocking, those words get clicks,
Hmm.
but you know why we get clicks?
Why?
Because we knew.
Right.
We
Because
weren't
we're
shocked.
unshocked. Yep.
We're unshocked.
Yeah.
Unshocked.
Yeah,
We knew.
we're unshocked jocks. We're not shock jocks. We're the unshocked jocks of the
Mm-hmm.
1990s. Yeah, it's true. Everyone, they can't believe it. They can't believe that a horror movie in October that is a sequel to a well-received hit second movie. They can't believe that it's doing well. They
Mm-hmm.
can't believe it. I saw a new podcast episode from our friend Matt Baloney, who just he had to have someone on to be like, tell me, explain this to me. How did
Mm-hmm.
Terrifier 3 do so well? I can't understand this.
How did it come out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere.
As if the
Nowhere.
vomit never happened. As if there
Ex-
was never any vomit.
yes.
The you
Yes.
know, as it's it's just really funny.
It's really funny. The people who hide from the vomit, who try and live these pristine lives untouched by vomit, sure, they didn't see the vomit, they didn't smell the vomit, they didn't clean the vomit, but they also didn't know.
No.
And we went out there in the streets and we smelled that vomit 2 years ago. But guess what? When Terrifier 3 was coming out, we knew. And the
I mean,
balonies of the world who never had vomit slathered on them, they're sitting here and they're shocked, and we're the unshocked jocks.
there's a saying my grandpappy used to say, there's no way to take a picture of vomit without smelling it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I think that's so fitting. It's almost too fitting for this situation.
Yes. Yes. Did he have that engraved on his tombstone? Because that's a good final. That's what you want to be remembered for. Is that vomit quote?
He wanted it, but it's just too. It's so long,
It's so long,
and
and
it's by the letter.
yeah, yeah. That's the thing is the cost. It's the cost to buy the letter. Unless you're listen, if you're leaving a giant inheritance, sure, put War and Peace on your tombstone. Tiny
Uh-huh.
letters by the. But if you're not doing that, if you're not leaving seven figures at least, you
Hmm.
you can't put full quotes on your tombstone.
Yeah.
You get name, middle initial,
Mm,
yeah,
mm,
maybe
yeah.
not. If you leave
No,
nothing, no middle initial.
they charge you for that little dot
Yeah,
after
and
your middle initial.
well, you can get the initial, but you don't get the dot.
No.
We won't give you the dot. Yeah. So great quote by your grandpappy, but he should have left some more cash behind if he wanted the quote on the tombstone. That's for sure. So yeah, Terrifier 3. I mean, the other thing, and we had a wannabe O girl who sent us this info earlier today, though we've been seeing this everywhere. Um, there's another movie that has been benefiting these last few days from Terrifier 3. Clayton, were you aware? And I guess you were aware because we predicted this would happen, of course, that there are kids who are buying tickets to the DreamWorks animated film The Wild Robot, and then they're going to see the unrated, X-rated Terrifier 3.
Hmm.
So, Wild Robot, how do they acknowledge this? Because I do think they should. I do think this robot needs to acknowledge what Art the Clown is doing for them right now.
I mean, this is the secret passageway for children. This
Mm-hmm.
is the going inside the wardrobe to Narnia. Only
Yes.
if Narnia had a killer clown
Yep.
that was cutting people in half and rubbing
Yep.
salt on the wounds.
Yes.
I think this is amazing because I think this is going to be a story so many people tell after, they
Mm.
can legally tell it after the statute of limitation ends,
Yep.
about their first just exposure to true horror, to true gore,
Yeah.
was getting a ticket for Wild Robot and sneaking into Terrifier 3. It's so old fashioned and beautiful, and I love it. And I think Wild Robot, yeah, they should tip the hat to it. I think here's
Yes.
the thing: Wild Robot has a very good chance of winning Best Picture
Mm.
animated
Mm-hmm.
at the upcoming Oscars.
Yep.
I think if I am Dreamsworks, I don't know why I can't speak tonight, but fuck it, it's a raw feed.
That's a roughie. We're doing it live.
If I'm DreamWorks and they win that coveted prize,
Mm-hmm.
they should thank Art the Clown, Terrifier
Yes.
3, Damien Leone, the whole
Yes.
team. I mean, that should be the first thing they say.
I mean, at this year's Oscars, and I mean, we'll be talking Oscars the closer we get, but this year's Oscars is going to have a tough time getting viewers with the movies that are probably going to be up. No blockbusters. There's no Barbenheimer this year, and nor Blitz. Could be great movies,
The
but they're
Brutalist.
the Brutalist is going to be brutal ratings for the Oscars this year, but they got to have Art the Clown in the crowd. I mean, this is the year that they have to start doing stuff like that. You put Art the Clown, maybe not in the Jack Nicholson spot front row center, maybe row or two back, but you have him in the crowd so that when the Wild Robot wins Best Animated Feature, the director of that film doesn't just thank him, but lets Art stand up and do a little spin, do his little, and you got to watch this on YouTube because I'm about to do it. Do his little happy hand motion to the camera. Let Art have that moment because what Terrifier 3 is doing for the Wild Robot right now, it's helping them have a better chance of winning Best Picture because the higher the BO is for the Wild Robot, the better chance they have of winning the Oscar, and that is
Mm-hmm.
thanks to Art the Clown.
And this is a movie that's already on PVOD.
Yep.
So it's perfectly stationed because it is a movie that all ages can get into.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, it's not G, right? It's PG.
It's PG, yeah. I
But
think I
but
think
that's all. I mean, that's all ages at this point.
I think a G movie basically nothing is allowed to happen in a G movie. It has to be a
Mm-hmm.
static color for 90 minutes.
Yeah, it's like those Andy Warhol movies of people sleeping. That's what a G movie is now, and they have to be
Yes.
fully clothed.
Yeah, fully
And,
clothed asleep and nothing happens.
and there
Yeah.
has to be a crawl that says "asleep, not unalived."
Yes. Yes. That's the only way to get a G rating for sure. Yeah. So Wild Robot, people are awake, so it's a PG. Yeah.
And Pat, I love the Oscars. They don't love us back. We
No.
pitch so many great ideas
So
to
many.
them, and
Yeah.
they continue to ignore them.
Yeah.
We had Godzilla and Kong, of course, the collab. We were saying they should open the Oscars last year. That didn't happen.
That didn't happen.
And
No.
as much as I love talking about this, it frustrates me. It
Mm-hmm.
frustrates me that they won't have Art the Clown. They're not going to have Art the Clown in the audience, let alone chopping Chris Rock's head off. I mean, that's really what people want to see. Of course, it'd be
Right.
fake, huh?
Be fake. It's not going to be the slap. But you know what? Chris Rock doesn't have to know that when Art the Clown takes stage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You don't tell him that. But
You
it's
don't tell
fake.
him.
It's fake. Of course it's fake.
He'll still
Yes.
have his head.
Yeah, he'll still have his
But
head.
but but
But it
these
would be
kind of
huge
ideas.
ratings. If Chris Rock was handing out an award
Mm-hmm.
and he insulted Art the Clown's wife,
Yes.
he makes imagine that. Chris Rock makes a G.I. Jane joke about Art the Clown's wife. And then Art the Clown gets on stage with his famous, hand saw from the first movie, or maybe his chainsaw from the third one. That's a moment. That's a moment, and you get Will Smith. He's laughing it up. He's loving it. That is a moment, but they won't
Yep.
do it. They won't do it.
He's got
They
to
won't
make
do it.
a Moomin shots. What were those old mimes back in the 70s and 80s? Moomin shots or whatever. Do you remember them? They used to be on all the talk shows and stuff. He's got to
Mhm.
make that joke about Art the Clown's wife because it's just as old and
Mhm.
stale as the GI Jane
Yes.
reference. And then
Yes.
at first Art's laughing, he looks over at his wife, she ain't happy.
She ain't. Nope.
And so yeah, then he goes up, chops the head off. Great
It's
ratings.
fake. It's
Fake is fake.
fake.
It's fake.
It's
They'll
fake.
figure
It's
it out.
fake.
They'll figure out how to do
They'll figure it out
a live beheading and make it fake.
and make it
You know,
fake. They'll make it fake.
but we waste ideas on the Oscars every year, and I'm
Yes.
sick of doing it. So I think we
Yeah.
should hold our ideas for when we have our award show, and I think that's when we should use all these great ideas that we have and we generate.
Yes. Yes. So let's move on into this weekend. Uh, unless I'm wrong, the only big new release is Smile 2, right? Nothing else is going wide this weekend.
Well, we can't
Is
sleep
there
on
a
Lionsgate.
religious is there a Lionsgate? What has Lionsgate got for us this weekend? Oh, well, actually, no, no. I am wrong in terms of wide releases. There is with your hometown hero, Michael Keaton.
Oh
He's got
yes.
from Ketchup Entertainment, Goodrich comes out this weekend. Um, are you excited as a guy from the Berg? Are you excited for Keaton in Goodrich?
Um. So I think that he's doing his thing.
He's
He
doing
likes
his
to
thing.
act. I think
Mm-hmm.
he's got a massive hit right now with Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I
Yes.
think Goodrich is going to do JS, as we say respectfully,
So it's
and
it's
that's
Michael
fine.
Keaton and Mila Kunis, and
Who
Mila Kunis was a box office star. You know, the Bad Moms, she had those. She was a sleepy star, sleeper star. So it's the two
Mhm.
of them. He basically is uh reconnecting with his adult daughter. So Mila Kunis is not the love interest, she is the daughter. So
Mhm.
you don't think there's major interest in that idea? Michael
No,
Keaton connecting with his daughter.
I mean, this is the sort of adult, quote unquote, adult movie that everybody says they want. I'm not saying that it's going to be any good, but with that cast, it looks like it'll be serviceable at best. And Keaton never really does a bad performance in my eyes.
Mhm.
But it's just, it's spooky season. You've got two huge sequels. And I just think nobody's going to watch this. I think this is a plain movie. It's a movie you're going to see on a streamer. And that's about it.
It's Andy McDowell is in Goodrich, so you are getting Michael Keaton reunited with Andy McDowell, the Multiplicity reunion
Mm-hmm.
that people have been asking for years. So I mean that could be a factor here. Uh, Goodrich is written and directed by Haley Myers Shire, so she is the daughter of Nancy Shire, big filmmaker.
You mean
So
Nancy Myers?
Nancy Myers, right, right. And then Charles Shire is the dad. They were famously married and then famously divorced. So
Mm-hmm.
you've got this, Jason Reitman esque nepo director, and people love that. Obviously, they're loving Saturday Night from Jason Reitman right now.
That's
So I mean,
fresh.
there's that factor. Kevin Pollak is in the supporting cast, so I know he's got a very popular impression based podcast that I'm sure he's plugging it on. But still, you're not seeing it. You don't think the ketchup's going to be let out of the bottle from Ketchup Entertainment this
No, I
weekend?
don't. I don't think. I mean, we talk about ad spend, and it's sort of hard now because of Terrifier 3 and its very low ad spend
Mm-hmm.
to talk about ad spend as if you need it, but you do. I mean, unless you're Terrifier 3 and you're undeniable and you have grassroots and you have all this,
Right.
this movie is just not out there. I know we saw the preview before we saw Saturday Night, but
Mm-hmm.
Saturday Night felt like it had some ad spend and it didn't do anything in its
Yeah.
ratings. And that's pretty much a dead movie based on a very popular IP that's in its 50th season. So
Mm-hmm.
this sort of Mr. Mom Redux, because he starts taking care of some kids, this adult themed Mr. Mom Redux, I just think is going to get buried in this very very busy market. And plus, there's already We Live in a Time, which has Miss Flo
Miss Flo is
and
back. Yep.
Spider Man himself, Andrew Garfield. and it's going wide from A24, that is going to be, if anybody's going to go see an adult quote unquote movie, that's the one.
Okay. Okay. So you think Miss Flo, Florence Pugh, and Andrew Garfield in a romantic situation is a bigger draw than Michael Keaton and Mila Kunis as father and daughter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, is this We Live in Time? Is this a test of their star power? Does the star power of Miss Flo or Andrew Garfield have a chance to do anything for this movie, or is this also just too small, too promoted? It's a romantic movie, but it's not a rom com. I think it is a. If you've
Drama.
seen the trailer, it's a drama. There's sickness involved, probably a bit of a bit of a downer. So I don't know. It's these days a movie like this. A movie like this coming out in 1994 with stars at this level is a different story than this movie coming out in 2024.
I mean, funny enough, talking about Michael Keaton, this is sort of a movie akin to My Life, which was a movie that had him and Nicole
Yes.
Kidman in it,
Yes.
and I think that was told in a different manner. I don't know. This seems like it's told in a unique manner. This movie as well, but that was a '93 movie, and yeah, that wasn't a massive hit, but it definitely would do better than something like this at this current moment. Do better in '93. So yeah, I think this is a small A24 movie. It's not being pushed. There doesn't seem to be any sort of Oscar buzz for this movie either, so it feels like it's falling in between the cracks. It's not a big buzzy rom-com. It's not Anyone But You, and it's not real legit sort of Oscar bait. So
Right.
I think it's just going to fall through the cracks, unfortunately.
This is A24, and we've gotten on A24's case over the years for the way they promote certain movies as horror movies when they're not horror movies. Something like The Lamb or Lamb, where total horror trailer, and then people see it and it's like that wasn't a horror movie. But those trailers do get opening weekend audiences that probably would have been that are definitely higher than what they would have gotten if they had been promoted correctly. So should A24 have promoted We Live in Time as a horror movie? It's spooky season. Florence Pugh, her biggest non-MCU hit, is probably Midsommar in terms of her being the lead of a movie. Um should they have gone that way? Should they have said We Live in Time, given it the phony A24 horror? You have that a noise that happens every 10 seconds, like in Midsommar, like,
Mm-hmm.
something like that, and not as a romantic drama, not as a sickness movie. Make it seem like Andrew Garfield is the devil.
Or she is the reason she's sick is because she's possessed.
Yes, yes, yes. Instead of saying it is a terminal illness, it is a possession movie. Yes. And
Yeah,
then
I mean,
people get there and it's not a horror movie and they have to deal with it like they always deal with it with A24.
like Ghost Story.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, they should
Yes.
have been on the poster in sheets.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I mean, I, I haven't seen this film, so it's not a spoiler, but there's a good chance someone dies in We Live in Time based on what it's about. So put a gravestone on the poster,
Mm-hmm.
and a hand coming out. And then
Yeah,
you have, Andrew Garfield or Florence Pugh, looking terrified.
yeah, yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think in this market right now, and going up against the movies that they're going up against, I mean, yeah, a little bit of fraud ain't gonna hurt no one.
Right. Right.
Because then the buzz is they lied to us, but it's A24. They always lie to you. Like, don't
Yep.
keep coming back. It's that sort of relationship. I mean, the reason why A24 is so popular with young film nerds
Mhm.
is because it is the sort of relationship you have with everyone in your 20s and early 30s.
Mhm.
Is you want the person who lies to you. You want the person who jerks you around and
Mhm.
acts overly dramatic and makes situations seem bigger than they are or scarier
Yes.
than they actually were. Those
Yes.
people are attractive to you in your 20s and 30s and possibly into your 40s and probably into your 50s in my case.
Yeah,
But
probably.
but I mean, well-adjusted people
Right.
won't fall for that. But
Right.
A24 is aimed at the people who aren't adjusted yet.
Right. Exactly. Yes. Yes. So A24, the fact that they are doing a movie where they're not lying and not mistreating their audience and not being overly dramatic, it's almost like they're turning their audience away. That these
Mhm.
20-year-olds who just want to chase after these devil people, that
Mhm.
they are turning that audience away by not lying to them.
Yeah.
So that does seem like a mistake here. We Live in Time should have been marketed as a gothic horror movie, and the people would have showed up and they would have loved that they were lied to again.
Mhm.
Um, but a horror movie that is not lying to people, it is a horror movie, is Smile 2, the sequel to this came out what? The first one was October 2022 was the first one, and man, that was a big overperformer. That was a movie that opened to, I think, 22 million, 23 million, legged out to 105 domestic, had a great run. So it had to get a sequel. Sequels here. Um, and it's interesting because, it feels like this will do well, will open well for probably what the budget is, what the expectations always should have been. But it doesn't feel like it's, to me at least, and maybe you disagree, it doesn't feel like this is a sequel where the buzz is building and it's crescendoing. It doesn't feel that way, which is surprising, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. The marketing on the first one was excellent. We talked all
Hmm.
about that marketing and
Yep.
how other movies should have followed suit with their marketing.
Yep.
And now they've blitzed. It's been a blitzkrieg
Hmm.
of ads and posters and billboards and viral marketing, which we'll get to. And it all feels like the buzz just isn't building.
Hmm.
And I think if you're the Smile 2 people, you feel like you ran into a buzzsaw, a literal buzzsaw that is Terrifier 3.
Yes. Yes.
The expectation of putting this out on the same day or the same weekend as the second weekend of Terrifier 3, you'd think, well, we're in the clear even if Terrifier 3 ends up doing 9 million or whatever.
Right. Right.
And I just think all of the buzz is with art. It's
Yes.
getting more theaters. Joker also sort of is not cover for Smile either. So if Joker ended up being a juggernaut, then Smile could say, oh, well, we went up against the third weekend of a $1 billion baby sequel. And
Right. Right.
so we might have sneaked out number one, but if we don't get number one, it's not a big deal because Joker's the biggest star in America, in the world.
Right. Smile has to open number one this weekend. Smile
And,
2 has
and
to do it.
there's no cover for them. They are
Yeah.
completely naked right now, and
Right.
they have to be number one or it's a failure. And I
Yeah.
listen, I think they will be, but I think it's going to be
Yes.
way closer than anybody expected.
Yeah.
And the
So,
clown that's next to them ain't going to be the clown they thought was going to be next to them.
oh, it's a shocking clown for sure. There's shocked. I mean, we weren't shocked at it, obviously, but the producer of Smile 2 would be shocked at the clown that's
Hmm.
next to them. Yeah. It's with Terrifier 3, the buzz is all on you love Art the Clown, he's our marquee villain, and he's back. And for a concept like Smile, that is the issue because Smile is not a villain. There's
Mm-mm.
not a smiler and there is a monster at the end of
There's a
Smile. If you're
demon, but
there's a demon, but no one remembers that. No one remembers the demon from the last 10 minutes, whatever the CGI gobbledygook that's at the end. It's the smile. It's that the smile passes back and forth to people, and then they bash their heads in.
mhm.
So that's a great concept. It's such a great hook to get people to that first movie, but it's not Jason, it's not Freddy, it's not Chucky in the high chair, where movie after movie we want to see this guy. So
Mhm.
that's the problem
Or
with
gal or person.
or person. Yes. It's with Smile 2, the hook is, hey, that gimmick is back again and different actors are going to smile, but
Mhm.
it's not the same as Terrifier 3 saying Art the Clown, played by the actor who you love in that part, is going to be back and he's going to be doing the things that you love him to do. Cut people in
Mhm.
half, pouring salt on open wounds, things people love.
Mhm.
So that is the issue with a movie like Smile 2. It's got the great gimmick, and people love gimmick horror movies, Final Destination movies, all that. You don't have to have a villain, but it does start to become a tougher sell when you don't have the villain, when you just have the gimmick, the concept repeating.
And here's something we talked about over time
Mm-hmm.
with, our preview of this, and just it comes up several times in conversation with guests, is the trap factor.
Oh
Is
yeah.
that Trap
Mm-hmm.
was a movie that we saw and really liked.
Yep.
M. Night was able to keep his house, so that was good. It's a success,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So that movie was successful. It wasn't as big as Old or the Visit or something like that, but
Yeah. It wasn't
he
Split, of course,
yeah,
but
he's still going to
few
be
things
able
are.
to make more movies and have a roof over his head, which
Yep.
is not something we can say for Kevin Costner, but let's
Right.
not talk about that now. And I think that the fact that that happened in a arena, and it was about a musician, and a female musician,
Mm-hmm.
solo female musician, that was a little bit based on Gaga. It feels like this character seems very based on Gaga
Mm-hmm.
or Dua Lipa, or someone like that.
Right.
And that feels a little stale, because the fact that trap didn't really take off the way it did. We feel
Mm-hmm.
like we've seen this before. Now, we don't know how much is actually going to happen within the musical arena, the actual place where she's performing. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel like the whole movie takes place there the way Trap does, or at least for the
Right.
first couple acts. So that could be a false sort of, it's an apples and oranges when we're just seeing two apples. But still, the marketing is really doubling down on she's at a venue, her fans are all smiling at her, and things like that. So there is a factor there
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if you are in the same sort of vein as a movie that didn't perform, people are going to not want to watch it.
Right. And even if they like Trap came out 3 months ago, and people
Mm-hmm.
might just feel like, I just watched it. And probably people are catching up like crazy with Trap. I think it might be on Max now. So it might just be a thing where people are like, I just saw this. I just saw a horror movie take place at a female pop concert. I don't know if I'm going to pay $20 to see that in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
Now, um, and this is all not to say that this is not going to be a hit, because it's spooky season and Smile does have a lot of awareness. And the first one was well liked. It's not the Tomb Raider trap that, Scott Mendelson invented and popularized that phrase of a hit movie that's bad. And so the second movie is a bomb because people didn't like the first. People liked Smile, well reviewed. So I think that it'll do fine. It just doesn't feel like it's going to break out the way maybe a
Mm-hmm.
year ago we would have expected. Smile 2 is definitely going to break out. What do you think of the baseball marketing campaign? Because that was a huge part of the first movie's success when they put those actors as smilers behind home plate at baseball games, baseball playoff games, and they're doing the big old smile. And people don't know what's going on. The announcers reference them. It's a true viral sensation. Clayton, we just watched a video They're trying to do it again last minute.
Ugh.
They're trying. They did it at game 2 of Mets Dodgers on Monday night, and they tried. Um, Having watched that clip of now they put two smilers next to each other because smile two. Do you think that is working just as well as it did 2 years ago?
I mean, no. I mean, I was gonna say I liked it the first time. I thought it was
Yep.
innovative and fun the first time. This
Mm-hmm.
feels lame to me.
Mm-hmm.
This feels so stale. And I'd like to shout out because you sent me a clip, and let's put this in the show notes because I think this
Okay.
needs to be seen.
Yep.
These
Watch this clip.
absolute phony
Mm-hmm.
phony newscasters acting as if they hadn't seen this the first time with Smile One, acting as if this is so new to them.
Okay.
It's shocking the phoniness of these absolute mannequins that are these morning show hosts. It is disgusting that they call themselves broadcasters.
Wow.
Number one. Okay. So let's just get that out of the way.
So you're going
Because,
before we even get to the campaign, you're ripping right
oh,
into the local LA news morning show hosts who reported on this. You are saying they are frauds, they are phonies, they are disgraces.
they lack such humanity that
Wow.
that is the horror. That is
Wow.
the true horror. Is that these people get up every morning and do this completely pointless job that I could spend 5 minutes on my phone in bed in my undies, my boxers with hearts on them.
Your MeUndies. You could be in your MeUndies
Nope,
doing
not a
the local
sponsor.
morning show.
I don't. Nope, not until.
Okay.
No Manscaped, no me undies. No, no.
Okay, until they pay us, we don't talk about
Until
how
they pay.
MeUndies is the one underwear that you could
No,
crap your
stop
pants
it.
in and keep.
Stop
But
it.
you could. All I gotta say is you could crap your pants in a pair of MeUndies and just
That's
keep
not
going
true.
about your day. That is
That's not. That's not
that's
them.
their slogan, isn't that their slogan?
You
That
know
was some
what?
other
When
company that almost came out as a sponsor. There was a company that we talked to that their whole thing was you could piss your pants and keep wearing them.
their whole thing was that they put the underwear in the pants. And so it was one of those things that if you were to defecate and or urinate in your pants, you would have to throw the pants away because you
That's what it
couldn't just
was.
dispense. Yeah, and that was not part of the marketing. We figured out that this is a terrible idea to put
Right.
underwear in your pants because the benefit of having underwear is that you can defecate and urinate in them and then throw them away in, say, I don't
And
know, an
save the
airport
pants.
bathroom,
Right.
possibly, and still have the pants. So
Right.
that
Okay.
sponsor we decided not to go with because we love our
Mm,
fans and we thought we wouldn't be able to sell these without completely pointing this out every
right.
time.
Right.
And
Right.
because we're truthful people, we're not shills and we're
We're not
not
shells. No.
phony pod people like these disgusting, despicable morning show uh anchors. Okay, so let's get to the actual marketing moment here. All right,
Yes.
because I think this absolutely signifies this movie's fate.
Okay.
Because you have the double smilers who are
Mm-hmm.
sitting there doing their creepy smiling thing, and there's two
Mm-hmm.
of them because the sequel.
Yep. Small two smallers.
And there's a moment where a
Mm-hmm.
foul ball comes and they break character. At least when
Yeah.
one dramatically breaks character.
Yeah.
And these absolute automatons that are anchors start goofing on these poor people.
Oh wow. So you're really
And
laying into these
and
anchors.
that I think epitomizes this movie's fate because it's not scary anymore. Like it
Mm.
got goofed on. If that smiler would have taken that ball in the face,
Yes.
kept smiling,
Yep.
and blood gushed down their face the way Andrew WK had it on the cover of I Get Wet.
Yep. One of the most famous images of this century. Yeah.
Right. I think that would drive people to the theater. But when
Yes.
you see a smiler cowering away from a foul ball,
Mm-hmm.
that is terrible marketing.
Yeah.
And the fact that these mannequins were goofing on you, these mannequins who've never added anything to society
Yeah.
positive,
Yeah. Possible AI mannequins, as you've established with your conspiracy theory.
not a conspiracy theory, just a theory.
Okay.
Theories exist. They do.
Yeah,
That's
some
my
say.
conspiracy theory, is that just theories exist. There can be
Okay.
theories that don't have conspiracy behind them.
Okay.
Anyway, so that I think I'm not going to get into, because I've done gigs like this before. Never as high profile, but I famously, before the first episode of The Walking Dead, I was dressed as a zombie with a bunch of other people, and we walked across the Brooklyn Bridge
Mm-hmm.
at dawn as a viral marketing campaign for that TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I never was able to break into viral movie marketing. That's why I quit, because I
Right.
knew if I'm not going to reach that echelon, I don't want to even do it.
Right. Because if
But
anything, you would have just been demoted to viral streamo marketing if you
yes.
had stayed that path. Yeah.
So if I uh, would have stopped and stopped groaning
Mm-hmm.
and stood up there on the Brooklyn Bridge and ate a breakfast burrito or scratched my little nuts or
Right.
took a call on my flip phone,
Mm-hmm.
then I would have not been doing the right thing.
Right.
And if
Right.
somebody would have come up to me, thought I was an actual zombie, and tried to kill me in the
Mm-hmm.
various ways that a zombie can be killed, I would have had to just die, because that's part of the gig.
You wouldn't have said stop, 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 not a zombie, not a zombie. You would have taken the shot. Or, I mean, were you prepared when you were posing as a zombie back in your acting days for a viral marketing campaign? Were you prepared to eat a human being's brains to stay in character?
Who said
If
I
that,
didn't? Who said I
right,
didn't?
right,
Who
right,
said I didn't?
right. I'm assuming you did. I wanted just confirmation, but I always assumed you did.
Well,
So,
here's the thing. You're missing the whole story if you're not watching YouTube, because I head with my head gave a definitive answer.
wow. You got it. You can't just listen to the podcast. Yep, there it is. You got to watch the YouTube channel to get the full story. So, do you put this as a failing on the actors themselves who are behind home plate, who then screamed and broke character when a foul ball came their way? Is it on the Paramount marketing department in that they didn't vet these actors? Maybe, in the casting process, they should have thrown baseballs at their heads to
Yep.
see if they would stop smiling. That's what should have happened, right? That the casting department needed to get a batting machine, you know, bring it into the audition room and start boom, 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 100 mile an hour at their heads. See if they would flinch or see if they would take one in the mouth and break all their teeth and keep smiling.
I mean, that's why it feels so last minute and so thrown
Yeah,
together. I mean, this should have been the first call. You get the call, do you want to be a smiler? Yes. All right, stand in front of this machine, this ball pitching machine,
yeah,
and smile. And if you take one in the face, in the punum, then they can see whether you can take it or not,
right, right,
you
right.
know?
That didn't happen because it's all did seem like it came together too last minute, way too last minute to procure that batting machine in the audition room.
What they would have needed to do is they would have needed to get an actual player
Mm-hmm.
to let a run go by, or a runner go by them
Mm-hmm.
while they're smiling.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, because this is the what is this? This is like to go to the World Series, correct?
This is, yes, the NLCS. The My Mets are
Yes.
are trying to get into the World Series right now. Yeah.
What a viral video of
Right.
the third baseman letting Otani
Right.
run by him when he could tag him at third, just
Right.
smiling,
Just
evil
smiling.
smile,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it'd be notorious for the Mets. I mean, the
Mhm.
Mets have had so many notorious losses. Just add it to another. It's not
Mhm.
like the Mets. It's not like the fan base isn't, you know, unacquainted with heartbreak and horror.
Right, right.
So if this were to happen, it would go in the history books. I mean, obviously, who knows what happens to this player, but Paramount ponied up enough money for this third baseman.
Right.
They're
If Vientos had just stood there, looked at a smiler as a Dodger rounded third and came home,
mhm.
sure, Met fans would be on him. Mike and the Mad Dog on WFAN, man, they'd be going nuts the next day.
Well, he
Mike
would
and
have
the
done
Mad
the
Dog would
smile.
lose
He
it.
would have done the smile,
But
but
if
he
he
would
had
have been
done the smile.
possessed by the smile.
Yes. If
And
if he had done that, possessed by the smile, we would have got it. I'd be upset as a Mets fan, but as a BO boy, I'd be applauding. But Mike and the Mad Dog would have just went bananas because Mike and the Mad Dog do not know about the smile situation. They
and
just don't.
and that's what you do when you're promoting a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take it up a notch, and they didn't take it up a notch. I mean, this is a notch down. This is a depressing notch down, and I after watching that did not make me want to see that movie. It made me think that this movie is a goof, and it's not
Yeah.
scary,
Yeah.
and it's not. This that will really harm it. I think.
Yeah. No, that fully backfired on them. That fully backfired. So yeah, I mean, I think we could go into our top fives, but first, do we want to dip into the mailbag? Because
We
we've let
gotta.
this mailbag get nice and full, and we
It's
got to
so
empty it out a
swollen.
little bit.
It's an engorged mailbag. It
Yeah,
needs to be lanced.
yeah. Let's lance this engorged mailbag right now, and let's get to an email we got from wannabe old boy Brandon. He says, "Hi guys. First of all, Joker should be called Folly a Doo Doo. This movie was trash. Second of all, do you think people didn't watch Joker Folly a Doo because they thought it was going to be in French? Americans don't want to go watch a French Joker. I know Pat's all about Europe, so maybe it is his Joker." So Clayton, you're salt of the earth. You're an earth dog. You're a plain Billy. Do you think that was a problem that maybe some plain Billies thought that Joker Folie à Deux would be too French for them?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think I'm glad that this gentleman nailed you. You deserve to be nailed on that topic. Not all topics, but that topic, especially. You espousing these European values on a domestic podcast show, I think is wrong.
Okay.
And I like that you got nailed. But yeah, I do think that that probably played a part. I mean, it was another one of Todd Phillips. Ha ha ha! You're stupid. Um, let's put French in the title of these fans who probably were all about freedom fries back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And this was just his fu, and it turned out that fu turned around on you because I mean this movie might not even be. It's not going to be in the top 5 this weekend,
No.
most likely. And I mean, it's losing theaters to Terrifier 3, the clown everybody wants to see. I mean, the fall from grace here is just amazing. And yeah, I mean, is that one of the factors? Absolutely. If we were gonna, divvy up the blame on
Mm-hmm.
this, the French title definitely gets some blame.
Okay. So the Patriots stood up these last 2 weekends against Joker Folie à Deux.
No, they kept their butts seated. They
They
didn't
kept their
even
butts
get up.
seated.
Yeah, they didn't even get up to check it out.
Yeah, the most patriotic act is keeping your
It
butt in your seat. Yeah,
is in action. Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I
So
always say: is the real patriots don't do anything.
we got an email for Danny Escamilaggi of I Screen You Scream for number
Number
4
4.
movies, he just had a huge podcast episode with special guest wannabe senior intern Christopher. They
Wow.
did a Joker 2 episode, so that was huge. So you got to check that out on I
Did
Screen You Scream for number 4
for number
movies.
4? Did Christopher try to take over that show as well?
No, I think he respected the host of that show enough to realize that that is his show, and yeah, but
Great. Respected the host of that show enough. Okay, great. Good
So
to know.
Danny emailed us and he says, "Hey guys, what do
Hey
you think
guys.
about drive-throughs double feature of Smile 2 and Terrifier 3? I think it would impact coexist well as two giant horror films that could also lead Smile 2 making more opening weekend. Love to hear your thoughts on that. Thanks for reading." So yeah, I think Danny is getting at drive through or drive in movie theaters, maybe, or
Drive in.
he did write drive Thurs. So it could be drive Thursday. That might be it. But what do you think about just in general combining Smile 2 and Terrifier 3 as double features at theaters? I mean, drive-in's probably the only place where you're going to do a double feature unless it's two movies in the same franchise. Um, so yeah, I mean, drive-throughs, drive-ins right now are still happening through the month of October. I don't think they shut down fully until November. So yeah, do you think Terrifier 3, Smile 2, combining them could happen this weekend?
Well, you've seen Terrifier 3, and I'm going to see it this weekend. I think that'd be such a tough act to follow. There's no way you could
Hmm.
put Terrifier 3 first and then Smile 2
Yeah.
after it and
It
expect
has to be
anybody to
Terrifier
stick around.
second. Yeah.
Yeah. And in that case, I mean, I think a lot of people are skipping that first movie and you know, maybe making out in the back seat or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Whatever. We're all adults.
Whatever.
They're all adults.
Yeah.
So, and then, getting their real kicks when Terrifier 3 comes on. So, yeah, I mean, if you're paying for both, the money goes to Smile 2. But I think Smile 2, that's a big company. They're pretty arrogant. They don't want to share space with a small beans sort of operation. And I think that's going to be their undoing because this thing is really going to cut into their business in a serious way. Terrifier 3, it's got all the buzz.
Wow. All right. So yeah, doesn't seem like we're advocating for that combo. So got another Terrifier question from a new emailer. I think this is first time emailing. We got from Tony, aka wannabe oh boy wise guy. So he says, hey
Hey
guys,
guys.
from a strictly box office perspective, is Terrifier shooting itself in the foot as a franchise? I never heard of it until you talked about it. Terrifier 3's huge release. Why is it not called Terra 3IR? So he gets a 3 in there. There's a lot of the numeral 3 in what he says going forward. So he says, why is it not called Terrify 3IR? Maybe it is, I don't know, will likely inspire people to go back and stream the first two films, thus reducing its box office next week. By the time audience have seen the first two, Terrify Thrier will be streaming, or will all want a breather from our good pal Art and avoid C3ing 3 in theaters. He's again the numeral 3. You got to see this email. Three's everywhere. I'm concerned that Terrifier may kill horror for the foreseeable future. Please tell 3 me that I'm over 3 acting. Wanna be oh boy wise guy. Tried to do that email justice by reading the numeral threes in there. Don't know if I nailed everyone, but just rest assured he uses 3 in there in place of ease in pretty much every word in the last two sentences. So, Clayton, to boil that down, do you think that people are discovering Art the Clown and Terrifier now through this third one
Hmm.
and going back and watching the first two and therefore not going to go see it this weekend? Is that a possibility at all?
Wow. So, wow. So,
So much there.
yeah, I mean, I understand art is a lot, and I understand the theory
Mm-hmm.
that if you were thinking, "Oh, I need to see the first two before I see the third one," and you do that, and you get exhausted
Mm-hmm.
mentally, or you feel unclean in a way that you don't want to continue. I mean, there is definitely a theory behind that. Like, there's some validity behind that theory. I'm sorry. But I just think that this country is down with the sickness at this point. We've talked
Today.
about
Yep.
this last episode. You brought up a great point, which I agreed with, is that the lack of vomiting during this run of
Mm-hmm.
Terrifier 3 is a good thing for Terrifier as a
Mm-hmm.
franchise because everybody's gotten the poison out and they are now ready for art.
Yes.
And I think we are a country that is going to watch one, watch two, and then be hungry
Mm-hmm.
for three because we kept everything, we kept everything down.
Right.
We didn't
Right.
throw up and not feel like eating.
Right.
We kept everything down. And I mean, you saw this movie and you had a full spaghetti dinner. So there's
Full
and
pasta dinner.
and
Yeah.
and listen, you're a veteran sicko, I'm a veteran sicko. We could do that standing on our head with the second one, the first one. Anything you throw at us, we're not going to get sick. We're going to eat our spaghetti dinner in peace. But for non-veteran sickos, this I think they're coming around to our ways, our sick ways, and this is something that we said this years ago,
Yeah.
that things are going to get more disgusting,
Yes.
perverted and disgusting. That's the future of cinema. We've said it and it's happening.
Yeah. And
I
it's a
mean, look
good
at people.
thing.
It's great. And look at people freaking out about The Substance, a movie that is not as sick as everybody says and not as perverted as things we've seen, but society is ready for it.
Yep. So we got another Terrifier question. This is from our good friend Reed, wannabe oh boy Reed, one of our favorites. So he asks, he says, the following months box office looks pretty slim except for Venom. So as a BO fan and someone curious about pop culture, I have a question. Can I jump into Terrifier 3 without seeing the other two? I haven't cared about slasher films since the 90s, but I'm curious about the Art the Clown phenomenon. Love the show. Reed, uh, listen, I always suggest to watch the first two because I like those movies. We're not critics, huh? But big
Huh.
fan of one and two. You don't have to see either of them to enjoy three. I mean, here's the thing: Art the Clown, he's a crazy clown, kills people. The female protagonist that you see in the movie, she went through some stuff with Art the Clown in the second movie, and she's going to go through more stuff with him in this one. There's lore that's introduced in the second movie, but you get it. Have you seen a Freddy movie? He's a bad guy. You root for the lady. That's what's happening in Terrifier 3. So if you want to jump in, you could jump in. And then I think afterwards you're going to want to go back and watch the first two.
Mm-hmm.
So Reed, this weekend, go to your local multiplex, buy a ticket for the Wild Robot, and then go see Terrifier 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll understand it. You'll
Yeah.
totally understand it. So those are our Terrifier questions. We got a it's a twofer for Reed because he also sent us a boots on the ground for Saturday night on a Tuesday night. So in this other email, Reed says, I saw Saturday night after work on Tuesday night. Surprisingly, it was 40% full. Average age was probably 70. Maybe a retirement home bus was outside. Older people love a half price movie. Uh, Based on this experience, I can understand why theaters are dying. Sound mix was terrible. And when music was playing, the dialogue was so soft, it was indecipherable. I felt like I was reading lips. Express this to the manager. Everything stayed the same. Then Reed has a story here of what happened. Also, an elderly man got up halfway through the film, exited through the front exit near the screen. There was no alarm or anything. Then he returned through that door, surprised it didn't lock behind him. Then he paced in front of the screen numerous times, and someone loudly helped him find the back exit to the hallway. While seated in the back, this is what I heard. Paul, what? Paul, what? Paul, that's not the exit. Yes, the parking lot is back there. No, the other exit. I got to use the restroom. Paul, I'm coming to get you. I got to use the restroom. Paul, I'm coming. And then she helped him to the back exit. So thank you, Reed, for that boots on the ground of an old, confused man looking for either the parking lot or the restroom, possibly both,
Mm-hmm.
at a screening of Saturday night. Man, all that to say, that is a bad sign for the audience of Saturday night. That the audience is elderly, confused people looking to piss in the parking lot and they can't get out of the theater. That's rough. That's damning.
That was your fear. I
Yeah.
mean, you talked about this on a previous episode about, are the young people going to care about the 70s cast?
Right.
And I didn't, I mean, I agreed with you in a way. Like, I understood that could be an issue, but now we definitely know it is an issue. That,
Yeah.
it's either the hardcores like us who read the oral history multiple times,
Yeah.
but the new edition, if they put out a new edition for the 50th, I'm getting it.
Of course. Yeah.
And
Anything Tom Shales is writing about SNL, we're reading it.
we're there. And so I think that this is so damning. Thank you for the boots on the ground, because this really just
Yeah.
proves that this movie is DOA, even with Rachel Sennett in it, who
Yeah.
is, part of this whole young group of funny people who are making great stuff. And she's going to be a big hit. She's going to get her flowers other places. But even that, even the fact that the young people didn't come out in droves to see her means that nobody really cares about this 70s cast, and
Yeah.
that's they I mean, that's the thing too. It's like they didn't even have Bill Murray till the second season, so you didn't even get somebody playing Bill Murray, who is, you know whatever you say about him just being a modern day prankster or whatever, uh no one will ever know, or no one will ever believe you, the sort of the normal thing for somebody to say who's not a bad person. And I think that if he maybe would be in it, because he's at least somebody young people know from maybe Wes Anderson movies,
Mm-hmm.
you don't really got anybody.
Yeah, yeah, that I mean, it just turned out to be true. The people who loved the first season of SNL, who were, I mean, and think of it, if you were watching the first season of SNL and you're as hip as it gets, you're like, the Bumblebees, I get why that's funny, I get why that's alternative. I'm a hep 70s cat watching SNL, and now you're an old, doddering, elderly
70,
person
talk about
who's
70s
who's
cat.
pissing in a parking lot.
Yeah, if you're a 70s cat, you are 70.
You are
Because
70.
if you're
In your 20s,
21,
then yeah,
you are 70.
you are 70, and you can't find the bathroom, and your daughter's yelling, "Paul, Paul," from the, or maybe not her daughter, whoever the younger person was. I guess it's probably, let's be honest, it's probably a paid aide
Caregiver.
caregiver. It's a paid caregiver if the person is yelling, "Paul, Paul."
Paul's a handful. Paul's a handful, and so his kids, if he has them, they couldn't handle Paul.
Yeah,
He
th-
brought it on himself, though. Let's just be honest.
yeah, they're not taking dad to the movie.
No.
Um, maybe listen, if he wanted to see Terrifier, then his kids, his grandkids would take him, but they're not taking him just to see someone play Dan Aykroyd. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
Um, Final email that we'll read tonight. Adam from the Stacks. It's been a while. So glad to get this email from Adam from the Stack. So he writes, subject is, it's time to begin adjusting for inflation. Adam writes, Dear BO Boys, long time, my friends. Congrats on the successful event in LA. Thank you, Adam. He continues, I truly believe it is time to begin reporting older box office performance numbers in an inflation adjusted way. For instance, Batman Forever, 1995. The film grossed approximately domestic 184 million, adjusted for inflation to 2024 dollars. That's 204.6 million. Let me see. Domestic. Oh, I'm sorry. The domestic earnings were 184 million, adjusted for inflation. Domestic is 376.5 million. These adjustments reflect the increased value of the box office earnings over nearly 3 decades. As you can see, this absolutely matters in box office discussion. According to GPT Plus, purchasing power of the dollar has decreased by 20% since the BO Boys podcast began in December of 2019. Thank you, Adam from the Stack. So Adam's saying we got to adjust for inflation. He's also saying, there's been inflation, I guess, since the beginning of the BO Boys podcast. He's throwing that out there. We'll leave that where it is. But what do you think of this? Should we adjust for inflation when we talk about historical box office movies.
I mean, you're opening such a can of
It's
worms
such a
here
can
at
of
the
worms.
end of the podcast.
Yeah, this might be something that we use as a cliffhanger to a future episode,
I mean,
honestly.
ticket prices do matter, right? I mean, that is a thing where it is the cost of a ticket compared compared to how it was and what that meant for your your the amount of money you could spend on certain things. I mean, that does matter,
Right,
right? Your budget was the word I was searching for so desperately.
right.
So I'm not adverse to it necessarily. I think Adam does
Okay.
make a good point,
Right.
and I think it is something that we should sit down, BOHQ, not at the water cooler because we'd be standing for a while,
Yeah.
and I don't like to stand. I'm like laying down right now. I am in
Yep.
bed.
In his MeUndies.
Yeah, not in my not no no
No,
no
not a
no
sponsor. Not a
not a
sponsor.
sponsor yet.
Not a
So
sponsor.
I am thinking about it, and I think, what do you think? Are you thinking on it as well?
I'm thinking, yeah, I think we got to sit in the BOHQ conference room and get the whiteboard, throw some figures up, you know, just lots of possibilities here. We maybe we get one of those. We hire a futurist, the people who professionally think about the future. We bring in a futurist as a consultant, and we start talking, what are all the possibilities for if we talk inflation, we don't talk inflation, we hey, we do international, whatever. Let's start really mapping out the next 30, 40, 60 years of the BO Boys podcast. And yeah, I think that's something to consider.
And we
I
bring in
definitely do.
a professional tarot reader
Yes.
and can do our tarot because we
Yep.
know you love that, and
Yeah.
figure out what both of them say and who we think is right, or we could take from both of them. There's no reason why you can't also, believe in science and believe in tarot. So
It's all on the table. Worms needed to be open.
the worms
So
got to get out.
the worms got to get out. So,
They don't want to be in a can.
Clayton, we still have to do our top fives. My
Of
God, this
course.
episode. Um, I'll go. I'll take the bullet, and I'll go first, and
Good.
give my top five. So, number one, despite all we said, I still think Smile 2 is going to be number one. And the projections are starting to get into the teens. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to do the 22 million it did the first time, but I do think it'll get to 20. So I'm going Smile 2 has enough awareness to hit 20 million. Then 2, Terrifier 3, it made 18.9 last weekend. I think the drop is going to be less than 50%. It's gaining theaters. I think it's going to do $10 million in its second weekend. So I think that's number 2. Number 3 is going to be Wild Robot at probably like 9 million. Number 4, Beetlejuice. And number 5, I think will be, my God, is number 5 going to be, it can't be Goodrich. It can't be We Live in Time. I think Piece by Piece stays at number 5. So that's
Well,
my top 5.
can I throw something out there? If it is still in theaters
Yeah.
next weekend, what about Nightmare Before Christmas?
Give your top 5 predictions. I mean,
Okay.
that's definitely could be a possibility. So Clayton, could you give your top 5?
Yes, number one is going to be Smile 2, I believe, despite the bad marketing, despite the lack of buzz, and
Mhm.
the sort of, de-escalation of their viral campaign.
Mhm.
I think it's going to be number one. I'm going to go 19.
Okay.
$19 million, which is good, but
Yep.
with you'd want this to be a breakout sequel.
Yep.
You'd want this to be 40. You'd want this to be 39,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's 19.
19. Okay.
I agree. Terrifier 2, I'm sorry, Terrifier 3 is going to be number 2. I'm
Yep.
going 11.
Okay, great.
Wild Robot, it's going to be so close to Terrifier 3, and the reason being is because so many kids are
Yeah.
going to buy tickets to this movie to get into Terrifier 3.
Yep.
I think it's going to make 9. I think 3 million of that is Terrifier 3 money,
Yep. Yep.
right? Number 4, I agree, Beetlejuice, another movie that's on PVOD and still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think 5, this is a caveat, if it's still in theaters, Nightmare Before Christmas.
Wow. I
I
love it.
I think this is gonna, if that's the top 5, this is gonna be such a great spooky, spooky season top 5, with Wild Robot being the only sort of outlier. But you know what? He's complicit.
Yes.
Wild
Yes.
Robot is complicit, and you know that's scary. It's
Yeah.
scary that he's complicit.
Yeah. He knows. He knows what's happening and he likes it. And
He
he
loves it.
won't say anything.
No.
So wow, it's going to be very exciting. And we are going to give the results for this top 5, break it all down at the live show, Clayton, in New York City, Tuesday night, this Tuesday, October 22nd, at the Parkside Lounge off Houston Street in New York City. We are breaking down the results of this weekend coming up. We're going to have special guests. I mean, our chief horror correspondent, Brett of the New Flesh, he'll be on stage with us. Tony Zaret, the meme master, the Venom expert, will be breaking down predictions for Venom 3 on stage with us. And we have got, he is road comic, Sean Donnelly of The Tonight Show, of all the late night shows. He's done them all at this point. He went to see Terrifier 3 today against his will.
Under
He
duress.
under duress. He hates gory horror movies, but he went to go see it. And me and him will not speak. We have agreed to not speak until he takes the stage Tuesday night to talk Terrifier 3 with us. Anything could happen. I mean, he is going to be a madman on stage having
Yes.
to talk about his Terrifier 3 experience.
And
This
we
live
will not
show is off.
speak.
We will
I
not
will not
speak.
speak with Sean because we are not on speaking terms necessarily. I mean, he doesn't recognize me in the street, so that's one of the reasons. He doesn't
Yeah,
know who
yeah.
I am.
Yeah,
So
I'll
that's why we
introduce
won't
you guys
speak.
again on stage. Yeah.
Please do, for the maybe 100th time.
So huge live show. The ticket sales are incredible right now. There's still some seats left though. So link in the show notes. If you live in New York City, it's the hottest ticket in town. It's not the Book of Mormon. It's not The Odd Couple with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick. Those are hot tickets, but the hottest ticket in town in New York City, the B.O. Boys Box Office Save America, Parkside Lounge, Tuesday, October 22nd. That is when we will break down the results of this weekend. So get those tickets. Link in the show notes. Of course, email us, theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Send us questions that you want us to talk about on stage at the live show. We will do questions from our listeners. So theboboyspodcast@gmail.com. Things that you want us to talk about with Smile, the Venom 3 preview. Of course, Brett, ask him questions. Ask Sean Donnelly, what questions about his experience seeing Terrifier 3 against his will. Send us those questions to voboyspodcast@gmail.com. 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Of course, follow us on the social medias at the BO Boys Pod on Instagram. That's the big one. TikTok, of course, growing every day. And Twitter X, we're still there for right now. So Wannabe senior intern Christopher killing it with the vertical clips. And Clayton, Wannabe senior intern Christopher will be live in New York City at the show this Tuesday night. He will
Oh,
be
wait, so am
there.
I not on the show then?
Wow. This is what people are going to love. This is great radio. You and Christopher in the same room together on stage. This is going to be huge. Christopher is going to be running tech for us. He is going to be hitting play on these videos. So this is the final testing ground for Christopher. He wants that promotion. He wants to be VP of interns. And He's got one more test, which is to play the videos at our live show this Tuesday. So everyone gets to witness whether Christopher gets the promotion or gets the boot on stage.
Whoa, that's wow, that has not been brought up. That it's all or nothing.
It's all or nothing. Yeah.
It's
You
hell in a
can't have
cell.
status quo. Yeah, you can't have status quo in an organization like the BO Boys. Either you
Wow.
get the promotion or you get the boot. So Christopher,
Wow.
as he's listening to this episode, looking for clips to cut for vertical videos, he's hearing this right now for the first time.
Man.
So that
So
is
this
what
is
is
a
on the line.
Glenn Ross situation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
First place, you get the car. Second place, you're fired.
Second place, you're fired. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, we don't. We're not even doing the set of steak knives. No one's getting a set of
Yeah.
steak knives. It's he gets the car or he gets fired.
Dang.
So huge show. So I mean, if you needed any further incentive to buy that ticket or call up a friend and say you got to come to this Tuesday, Christopher either gets a promotion or he gets the hook, and we will do it on stage.
That's coming from Pat. That's not even me, man. That's harsh.
Oh
Harsh
yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I mean that this is it has to happen. It's going to happen, and it's going to happen live in New York City.
Some rough trade.
So that's about. I mean, that is all I got. My God, live show coming up. This is, I'm spent.
Oh, Pat, you've said it all.
Yeah.
Maybe too much.
Oh.
There's nothing left to say.
Nope. Time for me to get out of here.
Except for until next time.
We'll smell you.